Hey, welcome. My name is Steve Stauning, and you are joining us for Gaining the Undeniable Advantage. Solve your turnover and staffing issues once and for all. Remember, this is a live training. We've got about a 2-minute delay, so if you have questions, realize it's going to take us a couple minutes to get back to you. Now, let me tell you what to expect today. This is a fact-based training. This means everything I'm going to teach you is based on stuff I've actually done or witnessed in my career in automotive or in other industries. So if I say something works or I say something doesn't work, it's because I've done it or seen it successfully done, and here's the key, over the long term. We all have lots of programs, things that come down from the OEM that we put in for the short term or we give lip service to. The things I'm going to teach you today will work in the long term, but they require you. Now, we will have a bio break today, and by popular demand, it'll be a 6-minute break. It'll be in the middle of the material, and it'll have a countdown clock so you'll know when to come back. Now, it's important to know the laws. I am not an attorney, nor do I know the laws governing labor relations in your city, your state, your province, or your county. So know the laws before implementing any of the advice I provide today. Saying Steve Stauning said, that's not a defense. It's not even a defense in my own house. Now, let's talk about what we're going to cover today, just so we're all on the same page. We're going to talk about turnover and staffing issues, where we are today and how we got here. We're going to talk about why good businesses have good rules. We'll talk about how to structure your pay plans properly. And really importantly, we're going to talk about processes, but not just processes, but processes that work and keep everyone happy. We're also going to address the A word, accountability, something that we struggle with in automotive, and it really is the key to leadership. And know this is not a set it and forget it strategy, but it's also not hard to do. I'm going to teach you today how to solve your turnover issues once and for all, completely, and it's really not that hard to do. The nice thing is, and this is important to understand, is once you solve turnover, everything else that you do in the dealership is a cakewalk. So, you might be thinking, but Steve, we don't have time for processes. Well, we can't do rules. And I'll tell you this, anybody can find the can't. Leaders find a way. Once you solve turnover, everything else is a cakewalk in your dealership. So yes, you do have time for this. Now, let's agree on a few things, all right? Let's agree on this. Let's agree that salespeople can be very transient in this business, and your workforce can be very fluid, regardless of what you do. But let's also agree that great salespeople can work anywhere they want. Can we agree on that? If you're a true 25, 30 car a month salesperson, you can work anywhere you want. Great stores and great managers can attract the best salespeople. Can we agree on that? And let's agree on this. This is a relatively speaking small business. Other people know what's going on in your store. They don't even have to be in your market, and they know what's going on in your store. So let's agree on those things so that we can move forward with this, okay? Now, we'll dive right in. Let's go into part one. Where are we? Where are we with turnover and staffing, and how did we get here? Well, it's 2016. It's crazy that we're still talking about this stuff, right? But you've seen the headlines. There was a great article by Jamie LaRue in Automotive News recently that actually spurred this lesson. It was all about NADA's 2016 leadership workforce or dealership workforce study. And basically, there's the headline, but really the gist of the article was this: turnover is up and we need more women. The same things we've been saying for years and years in this business. But what was interesting to me in the article is that they basically said that it takes 3 years to recover the training investment that you're making on new hires. But why are we still talking about this? It's 2016. It's almost 2017. We're talking about the same issues we talked about when I sold my first car in 1985. It doesn't make sense. Let me tell you a little bit more about this NADA study. The data for the study came from last year. It came from 2015. That was a record year. What's going to happen, right, with our sales teams as sales continue to plateau or worse? Are you even ready for another 2008? Listen, stick with me today, and we're going to figure it out together once and for all, I guarantee it. So where are we, and how did we get here? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not about money. It's not about the Benjamins. In 2015, the median annual income for all employees at new car dealerships was over $53,000. That's about 24% more than employees in the private sector workforce. So we're paying more than other industries. Why is turnover higher here? Oh, and by the way, this is alarming to me. It's getting worse. The average tenure in 2015 for your people on your floor was 2.4 years. In 2011, it was 3.8 years in our business when we were just crossing the 12 million annual sales mark. Yeah, 5 million units ago, 5 million per year. So remember, it takes 3 years to recover new hire training costs. So right now, our average employee is staying 2.4 years. They're not even staying long enough for us to recover the average training costs that we're putting into each new employee. And by the way, you might say, well, Steve, that was the economy. No. The rest of the private sector was steady during that time at 4.1 years. So what's happening? How did we get here? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is sales cures all ills. Really, this saying is sales covers up all ills. See, the rising tide that raised all the boats in our industry also covered up bad leadership. It's really easy to be a bad leader in an up market. And it's really easy to discard your processes, and that's what happened. Leadership tanked, processes were discarded because we had an up bus coming every day. But let me give you a hint. If you didn't gain significant market share in 2015, if all you did was tread water market share wise, you didn't actually grow. So you didn't grow in 2015, and today you're paying the price with high turnover, greater discounting in 2016 and beyond. Now, while it's true that most businesses will get better at process in bad times, this doesn't mean that you'll get better, that your team will get better, or that you'll get better right away, or that businesses get better in flat markets. And we're going to be in a flat market for a little while. So Steve, I get it. Sales cures all ills. How else did we get here? Well, this is a saying, people quit bosses. People don't quit companies, people quit bosses. And that's absolutely true in your dealership. See, leadership from the desk does not exist in most dealerships that I work with today. You probably have deskers, not managers. Now, there's nothing wrong with deskers, okay? We all need good deskers. Unless you're a one-price store, you need a superstar desker. But they're not leading your team. They're not even sales managers. They don't know how to lead, but it's not their fault because no one ever taught them how to lead. They didn't have to lead in this business. Oh, and by the way, it's not HR, okay? You're gonna find some people in our business, usually people who are selling HR services or staffing companies, they're going to argue that we need stronger HR departments to attract and keep more women. I'm going to tell you what, this is a cop-out or it's a money grab. Here's the reason. The role of the automotive salesperson, that's perceived by society to be a man's job. Society perceives it that way. A stronger HR team isn't going to change society's perception of that role. And just so you know, I'm not being sexist, we need more women in automotive. But they're going to come by doing the things I'm going to talk about today, not by getting a stronger HR team that can recruit more women. By the way, society perceives nursing as a female's job. And did you know even today, only about 10% of nurses in America are male? It's because society perceives the position that way. It's also not about training. Let's be clear. You don't need more training. The only person yelling for you to get more training are the professional trainers. You've already paid for enough training. It's probably sitting in a drawer in your conference room right now. You've probably got a drawer full of the Grant Cardone DVDs, right? The Joe Verdi VHS tapes, the Stuker CDs or cassette tapes, or even 8-track tapes. I've seen it. I've been in your conference room. You've paid for enough training. The problem is no one's reinforcing the training that you're getting today or the training that you got before. That's the biggest issue that I have when I go work for a dealership. When I come into your dealership to work with you, it doesn't matter what I say or do. If your managers aren't going to reinforce the training that I put in place, it's worthless. So today, I'm going to give you everything that you need to know so that you don't ever need to hire a trainer. So it's basically this. Growing sales killed our processes, yep, and bad bosses. Yep, that's pretty much it. Oh, and millennials, okay? But we can fix that. See, think about this. Ask yourself how much you wasted on staffing, on recruiters, on benefits, on HR, and trainers from 2011 to today. Think about that. What changed over that time, right? Obviously, we got this millennial problem, but you know what? All of our issues and the millennial problem, they're all solvable with just a few simple steps. They are solvable if we will put in place some basic, transparent rules. Transparent means everybody knows about them before, after, and during, okay? And then we put in some fair, transparent pay plans, again, where everybody knows what's going on. We're going to talk about all this today. We put in good processes, which is direction. People want direction. They need direction. We put in a sense of fairness. And you know what fairness is? It's enforcing. It's enforcing and reinforcing our rules, our pay plans, and our processes. We give a little bit of appreciation, right? We're nice to the people we work with. And we create a sense of pride in selling cars. If we can do those simple steps, truly simple steps, we can solve turnover and staffing issues in your dealership forever. Think about this. Think about your accounting department. Your accounting department, I bet, has clear rules. I'll bet they have a transparent, enduring pay plan. What I mean by that is you probably haven't changed your accounting department pay plan in years because it works, right? I'll bet you your accounting department has solid processes and plenty of direction. The only thing that would dictate turnover now in the accounting department is whether or not there's a sense of fairness, right? If they feel the manager's fair, if they feel the rules are fair. And is there a sense of appreciation or pride in that business? There's a reason that you don't have turnover in the accounting department, and that's because you have leadership. You have rules, you have enduring pay plans, and you have plenty of direction, those solid processes. And I know what you're thinking. Steve, that's apples and oranges. Accounting is nothing like sales. You're right. Accounting and sales are completely different. In fact, in accounting, you couldn't survive a single day without leadership. In sales, you could go months without it. You probably have. Some of you have probably gone years without leadership in your sales team. But the world is changing. Turnover velocity is increasing. That means that it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. Last year it was 2.4 years average tenure for the people on your team. What's it going to be in 2017 and 2018? It's getting worse. So whatever you do, let's stop with the Band-Aids, okay? You're wasting tens of thousands of dollars right now on ineffective training, on ineffective hiring firms, on ineffective consultants. These things are ineffective, by the way, because your foundation is wobbly. I told you, most of the dealers I train do nothing with the training. It's because they're trying to put it on a foundation that's wobbly. See, when I train dealers, it doesn't matter what I teach you if you have no rules in place. And you can have rules, but if they're not being enforced, it means you don't have rules in place. Or if your managers are just going to give my training lip service. Or if everybody in your team just treats my visit as another, box checking exercise. You know what you do with your OEM? Every time they come in, they give you boxes to check and your team checks them off and, hey, look what we did. No, you have to have a foundation. The things that we're going to talk about today are exactly that foundation. And again, this is easy. It's easier than the alternative. All right, let's jump into part two. We're moving right along. Part two is good businesses have good rules. And we're going to drink on screen this time, like we didn't last time. All right. So why business rules? Why do good businesses have good business rules? And why do rules even matter? Let me tell you this. Good employees want, and even need guidance and rules and structure and boundaries. They really do. They want these things. And they want the fairness that comes from having this guidance and rules and structure and boundaries. See, your salespeople are not individual artists, and this is not some artist colony or commune, okay, where everybody can do their own thing. You are running a business, and good businesses have good business rules. Now, I'm talking about some basic fair business rules. We're not rewriting the Affordable Care Act's 20,000 pages of regulations here. Think of these good business rules like your 10 commandments. In fact, we're going to go through 5 today that we can write very quickly. Rules that make your business run smoother. That's what we're trying to put in place. We're trying to put in place rules that keep you on the right track. But more than anything else, we're trying to put in rules that create the behavior you want, okay? Because again, this is not some artist colony, and your salespeople, believe it or not, are not artists. I don't care how good your best salesperson is. He or she is not an artist. But these rules must be transparent. This means any rules that we put in place, we're going to review with people before we hire them so that they understand, hey, we're a different dealership. This is how we operate. We operate with these rules, but these rules make life better for everybody. When you review the rules with your new hires before they're hired, it means there's no surprise 2 months into the job. That NADA study found that 39% of your team leaves in the first 3 months. That's crazy. That's almost 4 out of 10 leave in the first 3 months on the job. You can't recoup any costs from that. You're wasting your time. Imagine if you didn't have to train 80% of your staff over and over and over again, year after year after year. How much time would you have for desking deals, for customer service, for doing real TOs, for pre-selling your F&I products? Again, no surprises. You're going to review the rules with people before you hire them, and then you're going to review the rules after you hire someone, and they're going to sign off on them because we don't want any surprises. The rules have to be transparent. And these rules should make sense, and they should feel fair. They should feel like they're fair to everybody involved. Now, here's the first rule we'll write. We'll call it thou shalt not skate. See, simple anti-skating rules are necessary. And you know what? Your current rules are mostly non-existent. Every dealership I work with swears to me, oh, we've got anti-skating rules in place. It always works great. Let me tell you what you're doing. You are rewarding skaters and splitting the baby. And you've got to be tired of doing that. What do I mean by rewarding skaters? What happens if I'm a salesperson on your floor, and Bob had an up yesterday, and the up comes in today and asks for Bob, and Bob's with another customer, and I say, you know what, Bob's off today. I'm Steve, we're partners, I'll help you out, and I'll make sure that he gets full credit for the deal. When I get caught, what do you do to me? What do you do? You give me half the deal. That's like the FBI catching a bank robber and letting them keep half the cash and sending them on their way. You are rewarding skaters with your current rules, and you're spending time splitting the baby. You're listening to he said stories. Let's stop. Let's put some protected prospect rules in place, right? Let's tie a protected prospect to an appointment that shows a same-day be-back or asking for the salesperson by name in front of a manager on the day you work. So let me go through that. What I'm saying here is that we will have an open floor unless you've set an appointment with someone. So if I'm a salesperson at your dealership and I caught an up on Saturday and today's Tuesday, and that up walks onto the lot today without an appointment and doesn't ask for me by name in front of a manager, it's open season on that up. Anybody can and should take that up, and they get full credit and I get zero credit because you know what? I should have set an appointment. If I wanted to protect that prospect, darn it, I should have set an appointment that arrived within 45 minutes either side of the appointment. That's a 90-minute window. That's all I'm asking for. This is an important rule because it stops skating in its tracks. Because if I had an appointment, let's say I caught an up Saturday, I set an appointment for today at 10:15, the up walked in at 10 o'clock, right, for their appointment, somebody skated me. If they sold them a car under this rule, they get zero, because they need to know what's on the appointment board. If you are living in an appointment culture, and you can learn about the appointment culture at stevestauning.com, but if you are truly living in an appointment culture, your floor will know all the appointments that are coming in, when they're scheduled, and what their names are. And so if somebody skates me, nobody needs to split the baby, because if I'm the manager, I'm going to give that whole deal to the person who got skated, okay? Thou shalt not skate. That's our first rule, okay? And if you think it's unfair, then write a better rule. But it can't reward skaters, and it can't keep splitting the baby. How about this one? Every dealership I work with, when I walk in the first time, their floor won't make sales calls. Let me be clear, your floor's not making sales calls. So let's put in thou shalt make your calls. There's great data from the lead response management study, and it found that the best time to make contact with someone is between 4 and 6 p.m. And that 8 to 9 a.m. is one of the best times to qualify a new lead. So, kind of like nap time was in preschool, we're going to make sure that all of our salespeople are at their desks every day from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. Plus, we're going to add in one other thing. We're going to add in something called MBWA, Management by Walking Around. Just like the preschool teacher walked around, made sure everybody had their head down at nap time, you're going to have one manager from 8 to 10 just going to walk around, make sure everybody's at their desk, right? 4 to 6, everybody's at their desk. See, unless you're up or unless you have an appointment, you're parked at your desk from 8 to 10 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. making calls. And some of you are saying, wait, Steve, that's not practical for our market, or not, that's not practical for our store, or you don't know what it's like. Great. Create your own times and enforce it. Hey, Steve, we can't do that on Saturday. Great. Just do it Monday through Friday. Could you imagine just getting 2 hours a week out of your team making calls, 2 hours per person? I'm talking about getting 2 hours a day. The morning crew's making calls from 8 to 9, the afternoon crew's making calls from 4 to 6. The floor is covered just fine, and you know it is. Whatever you do, if this is not a practical rule for you, create your own times, but just make sure you enforce it. This is the foundation that we're building. How about this one? Thou shalt complete activities. Again, the dealerships I work with, when we first go in, we do a deep dive in the CRM. What do we find? We find thousands of past due activities that aren't being done. So here's the rule. Did you work yesterday? And you have past due activities today? No problem. You're riding the pine. You're not taking any ups. Just make calls all day. See, ask yourself this. Are the activities assigned by the CRM important? Are they? If they're not, then get rid of them. Put some activities that are important. But I'm going to tell you they are important. You know, the be-back calls, the owner marketing calls, those are important, right? They're going to help us sell cars. So do those activities help us sell cars? Do they help us get better CSI? Maybe the CSI call 3 days after they bought a new car? Do they generate referrals? If I could get my sales team to make all their referral calls, would we get more referrals? Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Do they help us set appointments that show? Yes, Steve, all of these activities that are required, they're all important. They all do great things for us. Great. Then let's put this rule in place. If you worked yesterday and you have past due activities today, that means you didn't complete all your activities yesterday. No problem. No excuses. You ride your desk and you use the phone and you don't catch any ups. And some of you are like, but wait, Steve, wait. What if we give them 24 hours to complete past dues? Okay, fine. Then say if you worked 2 days ago and you're working today and you had past due activities still left over from 2 days ago, then you ride the pine. I don't care what rule you write. All I care about is that you'll live it, that you'll put it in place and live it. Now, some of you are saying, Steve, I can't make people ride the pine. My best guys are going to quit. My answer to that is really a question. Are they really your best guys? Are they really your best guys and gals if they're going to quit because you want them to complete the activities that you've already agreed will help us sell more cars, get us better CSI, more referrals, all of the above? We've agreed that these required activities are important and that they help you sell cars, right? It's kind of like your advertising. Would you pay for 100% of your ads if your ad agency only ran 10% of them? No, you wouldn't. But you keep paying your salespeople 100% on the deals that they close, even though they're only doing 10% or fewer of the activities. I'm going to tell you this, completing their activities is part of the job, okay? And in fact, let's be clear. If your managers could make your floor team make their phone calls, for example, you wouldn't need a BDC. You simply wouldn't, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some stats here real quick. We had some clients that put this rule into place, okay? And they were able to cut turnover in half, and they grew their sales by 37% per salesperson per month 6 months after they put this in place, because it forced people to make the activities. We've already said the activities are going to help us sell more. A great thing happens when you keep your team busy. They don't have time to jawbone. They don't have time to talk about how terrible it is to work here. So keeping them on the phones during that time, while the initial shock of this is going to hurt them a little bit, over the long term, you're going to get more sales per person. This dealership cut their turnover in half, and they grew sales per salesperson by 37%. All right, let's do another rule. Thou shalt use the CRM. So some of you have salespeople who were paying through the DMS, right? That's how we pay them. And they sold 12 in the DMS. But if I was to go in the CRM and look at what they have listed, they probably sold 2 because they're not using the CRM. Now, Steve, what does it matter? They sold 8, let's pay them for 8. Or they sold 12, whatever, let's pay them for 12. It matters because the CRM should be your Bible. And how can we do a post-sale follow-up with a customer if we don't log their sale in the CRM? So sales must be recorded properly in the DMS and the CRM in order to trigger payroll. That's our rule. Thou shalt use the CRM. So to be considered sold for payroll purposes, your sale must show in the DMS and the CRM. And let's say that you did have 12 last month and I only show 2 in the CRM. I'm paying you for 2 on this payroll period. The deals I missed, when you come running to me and go, boss, I had 12, not 2. No problem. We're going to pay those on the next check. So in 2 weeks, you'll get the rest of that money. Now, this works like all of the rules will work if your managers support it. It doesn't do any good if your managers turn around and cut a provisional check for this person who you gave a month's notice to about getting your sales in the CRM, getting your sales in the CRM, getting your sales in the CRM. And then the first time that they screwed up and didn't get their sales in the CRM, you turn around and paid them anyway for those DMS sales. They just won't work. How about this one? Thou shalt record all ups. Why is this so hard? Every store I work with has a rule that we will get 100% of the ups in the CRM. And oh, by the way, this is the same rule we had in 1985, only we didn't have a CRM, we had a paper desk log. But we were better at this in 1985 than we are today. So all of you have a rule that says we will get 100% ups in the CRM. Most of you, probably 95% of you, have a rule that says nobody leaves unless we get a management TO. So you have a 100% TO rule as well. So 100% ups in the CRM, 100% management TO rule. How are we doing with that? How are we doing really? I'm telling you right now, of the non-buyers, you're probably getting about 30% in your CRM, and almost none of them are being TO'd in most stores. So why were we better at this in 1985? Let me tell you. My sales manager stood at the tower, had his paper desk log. He saw a guy on the lot in a blue shirt. He wrote blue shirt on the desk log. And then he yelled, "Hey, Stauning, guy in a blue shirt, go get him." And he'd write my name next to blue shirt. So it'd say blue shirt and Stauning. Now let's say a couple hours go by and the sales manager sees me walking past the desk by myself. No guy in a blue shirt. He'd ask me, "Stauning, where's the guy in a blue shirt?" "Oh, I'm sorry, but he was just tire kicker. We blew him out." If I failed to TO someone, if I failed to get them on the desk log properly, I lost my next 2 ups. I was out of the rotation twice. And we enforced that in 1985. See, it only had to happen once to me to watch two upturn rotations go away, and I didn't get it, and I didn't get to take an up before I solved it. I was given the phone book back then, or told to call my B-backs. I was not allowed to take ups. Listen, that's what we're talking about. We're going to do 100% TO and 100% ups in the CRM. And the way to do that, by the way, is to just keep your showroom log accurate to within about 15 minutes. This means that if you're owner, and if you're the owner, you're at a 20 group somewhere, you should be able to log into your CRM, look at the showroom log in your CRM, and know that that's at worst 15 minutes ago, that it's a 15 minutes ago snapshot of what's going on in your dealership right now. And if you'll do that, just like we kept that paper desk log accurate to within minutes back in 1985, you want to keep your showroom log in your CRM accurate to within 15 minutes. And if somebody doesn't TO, or they don't put somebody in the CRM, they lose 2 upturns. It's very easy. Now, these are 5 basic rules I gave you. I told you these are like your 10 commandments, but you get the idea. I don't need to write all the rules for you. Message me, okay, if you want help with these. Go to stevestauning.com, go to contact, I'll help you. And as long as you don't chew up too much of my time, I'll help you for free. But wait, I want to make sure you understand this. Don't destroy your existing team by dropping these rules out of thin air. You need to go back and collaborate with your managers as you write these, and pre-identify all the roadblocks you're going to get and address them. And by roadblocks, I mean things like prima donnas. You know who I'm talking about, that 13, 14 car a month guy who thinks he hung the sun and the moon every single month in, month out. He blows out most of your ups. This guy is going to be trouble. And so you don't want him poisoning the whole crew. So identify him in advance before the rule comes out. Maybe have a separate meeting with him. Have your GM have a separate meeting with him. And make sure he understands these are the rules that are coming out. And if you can't work here, I mean, if you can't do these rules, it's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. You just can't work here. You're just not a fit. And then announce the rules at least a month in advance to allow everybody to adjust before you start enforcing them. So today's November 22nd. Let's say you get these rules written before the end of the year. So you announce the rules on January 1st, and they go into effect February 1st. That gives everybody a month to learn about how we're going to enforce these things, to know that we're serious about them. And then beginning February 1st, we begin enforcing right away. Now, when you announce the new rules or when you share them with new hires, you need to articulate them to everyone and live by them yourself. See, these rules apply to everybody. They apply to your top people. They apply to your green peas. They apply to people who are doing 6 cars a month for the last 2 years. And they apply to you. It's a two-way street. Plus, I want you to say to your team this. I want you to say these 3 things to your team when you introduce these rules. Anytime you do, to a new hire, to a group of people, whatever. I want you to say this. Listen, I will never lie to you. These are the rules. I need you to follow them, but I want you to understand, I will never lie to you. I'm going to respect you. And I'm going to respect that you have a life outside of this dealership. But while you're in this dealership, these are the rules that we're going to live by. And then stand back. You've got to allow your team to operate within these rules. You absolutely must. You cannot change the rules mid-game, and you can't micromanage from the top. Just manage the results. So long as they achieve great results within the rules, you don't care how exactly. So you've written great rules. We're going to enforce those rules, but we're not going to micromanage. We're only going to worry when they step outside those rules because the results are going to come after that. All right, let's jump into part 3, the pay plan. This is tricky for a lot of you. A lot of you continue to rewrite your pay plans today. And oh, by the way, I'm not advocating a new pay plan. We're going to talk about some things today. But it's important to understand, I get it. Pay plans change, and your people will get it too. But they should only change because of new or unexpected market realities. That's the key. It's not your pay plans, by the way. It's that they think you lied about the pay plan or you keep changing the plan is the reason that people are quitting. Moving the goalposts, it's just not fair, and great people won't stay, okay? Our goal is to write enduring pay plans. That means they last for a really long time. And our goal is to write fair pay plans, fair to the employee and fair to us. And our goal is to write pay plans that drive the behavior that we need because everybody works their pay plan. You need to assume the worst when writing the pay plan. You need to figure out how somebody can cheat you. This is my second favorite saying in business. Everybody works their pay plan. It's my second, and by the way, it's not just an automotive saying, it's in lots of businesses. Everybody works their pay plan. My second favorite saying. We'll do my first favorite saying in just a second. Make certain that when they maximize their pay, when they're working their pay plan, that you're getting the results that you want. Now, my favorite saying in business is this: pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. And this happens with pay plans all the time. Your managers may think they're smarter than your salespeople, but they're not smart enough to steal. Realize this: great salespeople can work everywhere, right? Didn't we agree to that before we started today? We agreed that great salespeople can work everywhere. It's not about pay, it's about the perceived unfairness of a pay plan that will make me leave if I'm a superstar salesperson. Because again, I can go work anywhere. Now, Steve, are we going to write actual pay plans today? No, I'm going to give you the guidelines. There are just too many variables: your market, your make, whether the team is all new, all used, or combined, whether you have a BDC or an internet team, what kind of packs you have, etc., to write the perfect pay plan for everybody, okay? So instead, let's write some pay plan guidelines, okay? These are going to help you write fair, enduring pay plans regardless of your market, regardless of what type of store you have, and regardless of whether or not you're running a BDC or not. All right, so the first guideline we've actually already written. That was our protected prospect rule. This is a pay plan rule, right? It's going to ensure that the customer is ours, the dealership's, unless or until someone sets an appointment. This means an open floor unless you're using an up system. So we talked about if they request a salesperson by name, but I want to make sure that you understand that. I'm going to protect a prospect that asks for a salesperson by name in earshot of a manager on the day the salesperson works. You know why? Because if somebody comes in asking for that salesperson on a day they're off, we're lucky if we sell them a car. They could get stuck with a green pea, right? They could get stuck with somebody who blows through ups. There's no guarantee we're going to sell them a car. We need our team to set appointments. So it's not enough that I caught an up on Saturday and I'm off today, Tuesday, and they came in on my day off and asked for me. We got lucky we sold them a car. Why wasn't I calling them Saturday evening? Why wasn't I calling them Monday morning? Why wasn't I setting an appointment for Monday afternoon? Why did I let them just bop on in on Tuesday? And if you think this is too harsh, if you think I deserve half a deal for a B-back showing up without an appointment, then be prepared because your competitors are going to sell that B-back every time. Because if you think that they only visited us and they were coming back Tuesday no matter what, you're crazy. The only reason they walked in on Tuesday is because nobody called them. There's nobody calling B-backs today. If your team knows that they're going to lose that deal, 100% of that deal, unless they're calling their B-backs and setting appointments, guess what? They'll start calling their B-backs. They'll start setting appointments. Let's look at the other one though, same-day B-backs. I'm going to protect a same-day B-back, and here's why. It's Saturday morning. It's 9:15. I catch an up. I work with the up till about 11 o'clock. They got a small child with them. She's cranky. She's hungry. The dad's going crazy. We're about to do the deal. We're in the write-up stage. But you know what? He said, listen, I got to get her something to eat. We're going to run over to Wendy's. We'll be back in a little bit. And he leaves. And 45 minutes go by, and he doesn't come back, and I catch another up. And then he walks in the door without an appointment, but I put all of their information in the CRM. I still deserve half of that deal because we're not going to try to set the appointment in that case. And so these are my rules. Again, write your own rules. But this is the first guideline for your pay plans, is to worry about protected prospects and put pay plans in place that drive the behavior you want. You want your team to make B-back calls? This is the rule. You want your team to set appointments that show? This is the rule. By the way, for those of you who've never been through creating an appointment culture, my free online training on stevestauning.com, let me tell you the reason you want appointments. Here's the reason that you want appointments. And that is that the average dealer closes about 20% of their traditional ups on the first visit. but the average dealer closes 50% of their internet appointments that show on the first visit, and 60% of their owner marketing appointments that show on the first visit, and 2/3 of their BBAC appointments that show on the first visit. Appointments close at a much higher rate than traditional ups. That's why you want your team setting appointments that show. All right, second guideline is to pack carefully, just like going on a big trip. You want to pack carefully. Those of you not in the car business have no idea what I'm talking about. But those of you in the car business, flat packs, those that are not directly related to an actual cost, those are largely artificial in today's market. And let me prove it. Who sets the price for your vehicles today? Who sets the selling price for the vehicles today? The market does. You might think, no, my used car manager sets used, my new car manager sets, no, the market is setting those prices. With rare exception, the guy that's not online, the one out of 50, one out of 100 people who's not online who bops into your dealership to buy a car. The market sets the price. That's who sets the price for your vehicles. So if you have a pack that's not related to an actual cost, like some sort of reconditioning that you had to do to a vehicle, something special you had to do to it, any pack that you have that's a flat pack, that can only reduce your sales team's opportunity to earn commission. And some of you are saying, well, yeah, it does, Steve. That's why we pack, so we can bring their commission down. So I'm going to ask you this. Are you the only dealer in town? No. Do you think your pack is hidden? It's not. We already agreed that everybody knows what's going on at your dealership, and they do. So you might be saying, hey, we pay 25% commission, and boy, the guy up the street only pays 22. But if you have a pack that makes every deal a mini, and your competition is net paying better, where am I going to work? Why would I work for you if your pack makes every deal that I have a mini? Listen, other people know what's going on in your store beside your own sales team, and people won't come work for you. It's the pigs and hogs scenario. Pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. So pack carefully, all right? Don't think that you're outsmarting people. Again, it's not the pay plan, it's the perceived fairness of the pay plan. It's not always about pay, it's about perceived fairness in the pay, or perceived unfairness rather than the pay. That's what always increases turnover. All right, third guideline for our pay plans. If we're gonna have exceptions, let's commit early to those. So some of you are like, what do you mean exceptions? I'm talking about exceptions to your pay plan. Some of you who are paying a % of gross as your commission, you might have a cap, say of $1,500 or $2,500 or whatever, commission on any given vehicle. Let's write that out, that exception out in advance before you get the Batmobile on your lot. So for example, if you have a cap of $2,500 commission on any vehicle, whatever you want to write, let's write it out. Let's make sure everybody understands it. Let's put it in bold in the rule book we're having them sign. Because if you tell me when I start for your dealership that you've got that cap, I'm okay with it. But if you tell me after I sell a Batmobile, then I'm going to be checking out. And I will. Let me give you a real world example of a dealership that I was working with. And I happened to be there this day. They had a beautiful pickup truck, brand new truck that they had sent out to get some aftermarket accessories put on, get it lifted. And the markup on that truck was $20,000. It was gross of $20,000 if somebody sold it at Frontline. Nobody expected them to sell it at the addendum price. And a salesperson sold it for addendum that day I was there. And he thought, and they were 25% commission house, so what's he thinking? He's thinking, I made $5,000, right? I made $5,000 gross on that truck. Then they told him, no, we have a $1,500 cap on commissions. What happened? You know, the guy quit. He quit working there. He left. All right, fourth guideline. You want to pay for performance. You got a BDC, business development center, call center that's setting appointments, right, for your internet leads. Only pay them on shown appointments. You can pay them a base, right? A draw against commissions, but why are you paying them on sold units? They have nothing to do with sold. I don't want them selling on the phone. I want to pay for the performance that they can affect. Pay for the performance that they can make happen, okay? And so, by the way, I've got great BDC pay plans. If you'll send me a note, I'll send you one. I'm not going to go through the whole thing today, but BDC pay plans that will get you 50 appointments that show per month on average minimum from your BDC agents. Now, for salespeople, selling a BDC appointment, that's a split deal. I want to pay for the performance. If the BDC set the appointment and a floor salesperson sells it, they only deserve a half deal. Now, I'll give them a full mark towards their volume bonus, but if you start paying them for a full deal, you're wasting your money. Your BDC becomes a cost center. Don't believe me? Let's do this. Remember the salesman, Bob? Bob and I work together, right? I'm a salesperson on your floor, so is Bob. Bob caught it up on Saturday. and they became a B-back, and he did the right thing. He set an appointment for Monday morning, 9:15. And Sunday night he got sick, and he calls me up on the phone. He says, hey, Steve, I've got this customer, Barbara Jones, coming in tomorrow at 9:15. She was looking at a camera yesterday. Can you take my Monday appointment at 9:15? I say, sure, Bob. And I take the appointment, and I sell the car. Bob set the appointment. I sold the car. How much commission am I getting? What kind of deal is that for me? It's a split deal, isn't it? That's a split deal 100% of the time. I don't argue about it. Bob doesn't argue about it. It's a split deal. It makes sense. So why does this dynamic change just because it's a 23-year-old girl wearing a headset who works upstairs who set the appointment? Pay for performance. Now, do you pay a bonus for good CSI? Great. But make sure that they affect the CSI. You pay a bonus for back end? Great. I worked with a dealership that would give a bonus if you got at least 5 load jacks a month. That they would pay the floor salesperson for 5 or more load jacks, because that meant that the salesperson was talking about load jack, handing the brochure, talking to the customer while they're waiting to get in the F&I office. Again, they're paying for the performance. 5th guideline, let's limit the cuteness, okay? This is where we get crazy in the car business. We try to get too cute and our goals get circumvented. I'm talking about spiffs. Let me give you a real world example. I was working with a dealer. He absolutely wanted more Saturday appointments. He just wanted Saturday to be more orderly. So he said, we need more Saturday appointments. And he spiffed an extra $50 on all Saturday appointment shows. Put it out there, $50 extra for every Saturday appointment shows. And guess what happened? The floor faked Saturday appointments. How did the floor fake Saturday appointments? Easy. Up walks on the lot. Floor salesperson ups them. First thing he's doing is he's walking them to the desk. He's putting them in the CRM as a phone up. And then he puts in an appointment for, 20 minutes later. And then he goes to the desk and says, hey, that's Mrs. Jones. I got a 9:20 appointment for her. There she is. The sales manager was marking them as shown. And so they got a $50 spiff just for that. People work their pay plans, okay? The BDC in this store, by the way, was interesting. The BDC took internet leads. The phones went to the floor. So the floor salespeople faked Saturday appointments. The BDC team was setting Saturday appointments on Monday. So they get a hold of a prospect on Monday. Prospect may have wanted to come in Monday night, Tuesday morning. It didn't matter. The BDC was saying this on the phone. Well, my first available appointment open on that Camry is Saturday at 9:45, and I've got a 9:45 and a 10:15. Which one works better for you? You might be saying, well, Steve, didn't they get more Saturday appointments? I don't know. I know they had a lot of faked appointments, and they had a whole lot of BDC no-shows. So you can't set an appointment on Monday and expect them to show on Saturday. It's just not going to happen. So those were 5 guidelines, but let me give you a bonus guideline when you're writing your pay plans. And this one I feel compelled to tell you. Nobody makes too much. I see this a lot. I especially see it with vendors, but I've seen it in dealerships too. Top salesperson on your team made more money than your sales managers in a given month. What do you do? Right? What do you do? I've seen owners and general managers reduce the pay moving forward. You've just lost your top salesperson. You know what I do if it's my dealership and I got a top salesperson who made more than my sales managers? I make it a point to go to a meeting, introduce him to everybody again, make sure everybody knows he made more than the sales managers, congratulate him on that, and then I give him an extra $1,000 because I want everybody making more than the sales managers. Heck, I want to make them more than me because I'm going to build great pay plans that are fair to me and fair to the employee. And if they maximize those pay plans and they start making more than managers, fantastic, because it means at the dealership, we're making more money. Let me give you the bottom line on pay, okay? Generally speaking, people don't quit over pay. Your salespeople, they make more than any other industry, yet turnover is still an issue. So why are they quitting over pay? I've said it before. 1, it's the perceived unfairness in your pay plans, in your changing of pay plans, in your surprises that you do, right? In your exceptions. And here's the second reason they quit over pay is that your managers don't pull them from being an 8-car a month person to a 20-car a month person. It's sink or swim in our business, and it always has been, and you have to stop that. You have deskers where you need leaders. You have deskers where you need people who are managers. So let's take a sidebar. This is a leadership crisis. When we talk about turnover, we're talking about a leadership crisis. When we talk about the fact that your team isn't making their phone calls, it's a leadership crisis. So let's take a quick sidebar on this and ask yourself, are my sales managers leaders or are they deskers? Now, it is possible to be both, but it's pretty rare. And many dealerships still need deskers. I get that. But every dealership needs leaders. Why are we calling them managers? Let's call them deskers. Why are we letting them lead people? Let's let them desk and let's get one person to lead the team. Now, let me give you a few questions or thoughts back to pay plans, all right? Do you pay on total gross or just front gross? And this is rhetorical, obviously you can't answer this, but I want you to answer it for yourself. So, do you want higher F&I grosses? Do you want your salespeople explaining F&I products in advance? I know a lot of dealerships. I was telling you about the one that, when they put in the low jack. If you sell 5 or more low jacks, here's what low jack is. Here's the brochure. If your cars that go out 5 or more of a month go out with low jack, you get a spiff on every low jack. Your team can do it. Okay, they can explain these things. If you want your team explaining these products in advance, then pay them a little bit on the F&I grosses. At some point, let's be clear, salespeople are going to be handling your F&I. There's going to be a single point of contact in your dealership. Maybe not next week, maybe not next year, maybe not in 5 years. But I know dealerships today like Champ BMW in Colorado that for years, I think maybe more than 10 years, they haven't had F&I managers. They haven't had desk managers. They've been a one-price store and a salesperson hands it from beginning to end. That happens in lots of stores today, and it's going to happen in your store someday. So maybe now it's time to start getting them involved in F&I, involved in the F&I products, involved in introducing these things, and then paying them a little bit on that. Again, in a well-written pay plan, written in advance that is expected to endure. All right, how about this? Another question, is a flat per car better than a percent of gross? I've heard arguments on both sides, but I want to be clear that we understand this. Today's buyer, they know what they want and how much they want to pay before they arrive on your lot. Stats show they do more than 20 hours of research. They look at more than 20 different sources of information before they come to your lot. In fact, today they're only visiting what McKinsey says 1.6 dealers before they buy. The average buyer doesn't even visit 2 dealerships before they buy. And Auto Trader said that 77% of new car buyers last year bought the vehicle that they came in on. That means we're not flipping them as much as we used to because they already know what they want. And if we do try to flip them, they're going to go somewhere else. See, paying on a percent of gross sounds right, but flipping is more difficult today than it ever has been, and it usually blows out and up, okay? So your pay plans should be structured to just have them sell the car and move on because people have already done their needs analysis. We're going to talk about this when we talk about process. They've done their product selection, their needs analysis, their feature presentation. They really just need someone to sell them a car. All right, here's another question. Should you pay a heavy volume bonus or a heavy per car? Should your percentage be on the per car or should your weight be on the volume bonus? And really you need to ask yourself, what's realistic in our dealership? But here's what I want you to look at. Look at the difference between your top and bottom sellers. And let's say that you've got a 30 car a month person on top, you've got an 8 car a month person on the bottom. Does the 8 car a month seller deserve roughly the same dollars per car as the 30 car seller? My answer is no, they don't. And so if it were my dealership, I would work a way to structure my bonus, to structure my pay plan so that I had a heavy volume bonus and I was paying less per car. So let's jump into part 4, processes. I want to make sure you understand about processes. Processes sell cars. They really do. And more than that, processes keep people happy. They keep happy people happy and they make sad people happy. Now, why do happy people like processes? Remember this, good people need guidance and rules and structure and boundaries. And guess what good processes do? Good processes provide that guidance, provide those rules, that structure, those boundaries. See, great sales process means everyone who can does succeed at selling. Think about this. How many people did you blow out last year or this year who they weren't cut out for the car business? How many? Some of you, that number might be close to 100. Some of you, it might be a couple dozen. How many of those people really weren't, quote unquote, cut out for the car business? It's just that they didn't get the right kind of training, that you don't have the right kind of processes in place, and that these processes don't provide boundaries and structure and rules and guidance, the things that good people need. See, when you have great processes, you reduce your onboarding time and you remove almost all of the learning curve. If everybody's doing everything the same way, then you have almost no learning curve. This means less training and retraining. It means less wasted money on consultants and trainers and all the above. This means lower initial turnover, okay? Meaning people leaving right away because people ramp up more quickly. I can start in this car business, never having sold cars before. And at your dealership, if you have great processes in place, I'm selling 15 cars a month by my second month, and I'm staying there or moving higher. And this means you can start hiring people with less experience, but more character. Wouldn't that be refreshing? So what makes processes great? Well, listen, great processes are easy. They're easy to follow. They're easy to explain. They're simple. In fact, if you can't simply explain a process in your dealership, then it's a hot mess, okay? Then it's not a good process. In order to be a great process, it has to be easy. It's got to be simple. It's got to be intuitive. It means your process makes sense. People say, yeah, it makes sense to work in those steps. It makes sense to say those things. Your processes have to be repeatable. And let me repeat that. They have to be repeatable. If you have a terrific salesperson who's out there freelancing, but they've got a great process that they're working on, then take their process, write it, and let's repeat it. Because without repeatable processes, you're going to have months like this. And your salespeople will have months like this. If you have great processes in place, your sales go like that, and your people, individually, they start selling more and more per person. And your processes have to be effective. That means they're goal-driven, okay, and they're everlasting. They last in the dealership. In fact, if they're not easy to explain, I told you, they're a hot mess. If they're not intuitive, people are going to forget them. See, if they don't make sense, people will just forget your processes. If your processes are not repeatable, your team will never improve. And if your processes are not effective, actually, effectiveness is the least important process trait initially. Let me give you the argument for writing bad processes. Because bad processes are better than no processes. See, no processes equals freelancing and chaos. And great people become mediocre. Good people will leave, and bad people will never improve. If your dealership is full of no process, that means you have freelancing and chaos on your sales floor, and great people, like I said, are going to be mediocre. Your good people will leave, and your bad people will never improve. Now, bad processes that are enforced can be improved. That's important to understand. We're talking about continuous process improvement. This doesn't mean we work on our processes every single day. It means that we create some processes and we start enforcing them. And once we have processes that are strictly enforced, those can be tracked and measured. When we measure something, we can create benchmarks. And when we have benchmarks, we can experiment with new approaches. For example, let's look at my internet sales process. My internet sales process in 2006 was 150 days long. And we made phone calls on that process through 60 days. In 2016, it dropped to a 90-day process, and we only made phone calls through 23 days. And in fact, my 2017 trade process, which is on the screen, we make no phone calls after 11 days. And we're going to review my 2017 internet sales process, which has already been distributed to all my clients. That process is only 45 days long, and we don't do any phone calls after day 15 in my 2017 internet sales process. Your teams will love it, but how did we start making these improvements? Why did we improve from 150 days? Why did we shorten it from 150 days to now 45 days in 2017? That's continuous process improvement. We didn't just throw a bunch of crap against the wall to see what sticks. See, continuous process improvement is not about that. It's also not about changing everything just because we came back from a 20 group with some new idea. It's about making small changes to processes to coincide with or in response to market changes and our measurements, and then measuring those changes. So back then in 2006, 150 days, that made a lot of sense, right? Making calls through 60 days made a lot of sense because you could catch someone at the right time. I mean, we had teams that were making calls, and at day 60, they get a hold of someone, and the customer would say, oh, I'm so glad you stayed in touch with me. Yeah, I'm ready to buy now. Today, the cycle is extremely short. Plus, there's great data out there that shows us that making more than 6 to 9 calls is a waste. There's data out there from a company called Velocify that shows that by the 6th call, your team has reached 93% of the people who will reconnect with you. And by the 9th call, it's something like 97%. There's no ROI in making more than 9 calls, and that's what my new process has. But it wasn't made just because I threw crap against the wall, and it wasn't made because I came back from some 20 group. The changes were made in response to the way the market has been changing and then through measurements. So let's write your internet sales process. Internet sales processes are what I call a CRM process. There really are 2 types of processes in your dealership. One is a CRM process, and that's where the CRM dictates all of the steps. So we'll talk about that in a second. The other one is a human process, which may be overseen by the CRM, but it's really driven by the human. And we'll talk about that one as well. So CRM processes are the easiest to implement and the easiest to understand because the CRM tells your team exactly what to do and when to do it. Pick up the phone today, call, say this, right? All you've got to do to write this process is just pick the dates that you want stuff to go out and write the templates. Dates and templates. Steve, how do I choose? How do I choose when to send out stuff? How do I write them? How do I write these templates? We're going to go through that in just a minute. We'll go through the steps. It's easy. But don't overthink this. Processes are easier and more effective than the alternative. They really are. Your team will have so much more free time if you will just put these processes in place. So let's write some processes, okay? Here's how we write processes. First, we identify the goal, okay? In the case of our road to the sale process, our goal is easy, sell a car, right? And then we work backwards from there using simple steps, right? We start at sell a car, and then we work backwards, okay? Selling the car is the bottom. We work all the way back to the first step of the process, and then we smell test the steps. What do we mean by that? I mean, we give them a smell test. Are these steps necessary? Does step 3 really help you get to step 4? And then we ask, is this a great process? And what do I mean by a great process? A great process is one that's loved by employees and your customers. And so we're going to look at that on all the processes that we write. So let's talk about the internet sales process. Remember, that is a CRM process. What's our goal when we get an internet lead? Our goal is to get a connection, get the customer on the phone. So that's our goal. We're going to work backwards from there. And this is an incredibly short process, right? Here's our connection, and here's the attempts we're going to make to connect, and here's where the lead arrives. That's the whole process. Lead comes into the CRM, we make some connection attempts via email, text, and voice, right? And then we get the connection. That's the process. So let's write the steps, right? The when and the what. So here's my 2017 internet sales process. Now, it doesn't have the templates in it, but I want to kind of go through this. We're going to smell test our steps. I decided, based on watching my clients, based on looking at CRMs, based on how long it took before people reconnected, and whether we were realistically selling a car to someone we sent an email to 90 days after they sent their lead, that we shortened it to 45 days. That's what you see on this graph. Our calls only go through the first 15 days. Now, the emails are on the top of this continuum. The phone calls are on the bottom. Now, you might say, Steve, where's the text message? It's in there. It's not written on here, but we're going to do one text request if we're doing text the right way through our CRM. We'll do one text request on day 1 as well. But the 9 emails are basically an auto response, a day 1 personal response, that's the email that's in black, and all the rest of those red emails, those are all automated emails on days 2, 4, 8, 14, 22, 31, and 45. Simple, okay? Our calls, we're only making 9 calls now. On the whole process, the whole 15 days is only 9 calls. We're going to make 2 calls on day 1, a call on day 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, and 15. That's it. Because remember, by the time you've made your 6th call, you have reconnected with 93% of the prospects who are willing to reconnect with you. And by your 9th call, it's something like 97%. Now, we've smell tested the steps. They all make sense. Now we're going to say, is this a great process for employees and customers? I'm going to say, yes, it is. Because your employees will actually make these calls. The problem with our longer processes is employees were faking the 23-day call, the 30-day call, the 45-day call, whatever it was. And they weren't making those, okay? What also makes this good for employees is all those automated emails. They're not spending time, wasting time typing out an email or even having to select a template, put it in the CRM and shoot it off. Those templates go out automatically. All they have to do is call people, and after 15 days, they bury the dead, they move on. You know, is this a great process for customers? Well, it reconnects with them, right? And it puts the emphasis at the beginning of the process. It puts the emphasis early on. When the lead first came in, there's a lot of emphasis on connecting. There's a stat out there that the dealer who connects first with a new prospect is 238% more likely to sell them a car than the dealer who connects second. That's why the process was written this way. So is this a great process? I don't know. Is it easy? Is it easy to follow and easy to explain? Is it simple? Yeah, it is. Is it intuitive? Do the steps make sense? Yes, this process makes sense. Is it repeatable? Absolutely, because it's a CRM process, right? As long as we get it in the CRM and we enforce it, it will be repeatable. And is it effective? Will customers and our good employees love it? Notice I said good employees. See, your bad employees are going to fight everything that you want to put in place. Do not worry about them. They can go work for someone else, okay? Listen, if somebody can't work with us, again, it doesn't make them a bad person. It just means they're not a fit. All right, now let's talk about human processes like this one, the road to the sale. This is a road to the sale that a dealer that I worked with a few years ago actually had, and I think they're still have it in place today. Now with human processes, the CRM can still track all the steps of the process, just not so much dictate the next step, because in this process, the road to the sale, we're in front of the prospect the entire time. So we don't have a CRM that pops up and says, do the feature presentation now, right? So we have to know these steps. So a human is managing these steps. After the steps have been taken, we want the human to go into the CRM and show that those steps have been made. Now for internet sales, the human process takes over after we get that reconnection, right? So I've sent out the emails, I'm making my day 7 phone call, the customer answers, okay? Now the human process takes over, not a CRM process. Again, we're going to track these in the CRM. We're going to make sure that people mark off the steps in the CRM and that they actually made the steps, but it's going to be driven largely by humans. So is this a great process, this old-fashioned road to the sale? Notice I said old-fashioned. Is the old-fashioned road to the sale great? Is it easy to understand and explain? I'm going to say, yeah. I mean, this was pretty close to what we had in '85. We didn't have F&I back then. Is it easy to understand and explain? Yeah, it is. It is. Is it intuitive? Does it make sense? I'm going to say not today. I'm going to say it did when it was written. When this process was written, it made sense. It doesn't make sense today. Your customer has already done their needs analysis. They've already done their vehicle selection. They've already done their feature presentation. They're just looking for someone to sell them a car. 77% of new car buyers bought the car they came in on. The reason people chose your dealership, there's 3 reasons that people buy, okay? And 1 is value, 2 is relevancy, and 3 is authenticity. Value says the vehicle that you have for sale is the price that they're willing to pay. That's value. They see value in your price. Relevancy, yep, that minivan fits me. Yep, I need an SUV. Yep, that's the perfect sedan for me. So the vehicle is relevant, your dealership is relevant, the vehicle has value, your dealership has the vehicle for value. That's value and relevancy. Now they show up at your dealership, they're just looking for authenticity. They only want to come there and test drive the car, and if they like it, they're going to buy it, unless you blow them out because you've got this road to the sale where you slow everything down, you take them back to the beginning, and you go through. Now, is this repeatable, right? So I say it's not intuitive because some of the steps, right, don't make sense today. Is it repeatable? Yeah, sure, okay, sometimes. Really, think about your road to the sale and how many of your salespeople follow every single step of the road to sale every single time. Is it effective? Do employees and customers love it? Nope. We know from driving sales that 99% of customers, 99% of car buyers expect a hassle when they start the car buying process. 99%. Where did they get that? Where did they get that idea that this was going to be a hassle? From the last time they bought, right? So they don't love the process. 99% of them absolutely hate it. Do employees love it? No, they shortcut it all the time, okay? So let's write a process for connected customers, sort of a shorter road to the sale. So this would be my process today. I'm going to start with the goal, right? Selling the car, delivering the car, and I'm going to work backwards, okay? All the way up, and I'm going to smell test the steps. Are they all necessary? Now you might say, well, Steve, wait a minute. We're going to jump from the meet and greet all the way to the demo drive? Yeah, because the people who show up on your lot today, they already have a car in mind. If I was working at your dealership and I was training salespeople, I would train them to say this. Hi, I'm Steve Stauning. Welcome to Steve's Honda. What vehicles did you come to see today? See, there's no reason to build that fake rapport because we can't do that. We're going to build rapport through genuine human interaction, but we're going to make this a buying process. We're going to let them buy. We're going to pull them through the steps. And when they answer what vehicle they came to see today, I'm going to say, great, let me get your driver's license. We'll go ahead and scan it. We'll get you out on your test drive. And we get them on the test drive right away. And while I'm on the test drive, someone's going to be doing the trade evaluation back at the dealership. So the minute we come back from the test drive, when they're at their highest point and most likely to buy, we're going to pass them the pencil, okay? And it's going to be a fair pencil. It's going to match the price that they already saw online, and the price for their trade is going to be within that range that they already saw online because they did already see all this. And our salesperson's never going to have to leave their side. They're going to be with them the entire time, and that's our process. So is it great? Does it make sense? And does everyone love it? I don't know if people are going to love it necessarily, but customers are going to like this a whole lot more because the 3 hours just doesn't make any sense. Why would a customer love this process? Because it's a buying process, not a selling process, right? They already hate our current process. They're going to like this process or love this process because it makes sense to them. I came in to test drive. Why are you asking me all these third-degree questions? Time out. I just want to test drive a car, right? I just want to make sure it's in stock. Why do they love it? Because it keeps them busy the entire time. They're not sitting there on their smartphone or waiting for you to come back from the desk for the 4th time. And they love this process because it's shorter than 3 hours. That's why they love this process. Why do salespeople love this process? The same reasons. Salespeople love this process because it's a buying process, not a selling process. We're doing something called assumptive selling. We're going to assume the sale from the minute the customer walks on the lot. And if we're assuming the sale, we're assuming they already know what they want, and we're going to walk them through that. So we're going to take them through a buying process, not a selling process. See, it makes sense to salespeople, these steps. And they love it because it keeps them busy the entire time. Think about how many deals your team's losing. I was just at a dealership last month, and I watched this from the sales desk. I watched as a salesperson was walking back for their 3rd pencil. And I watched the customer sitting back at the table. And the salesperson probably sat at the desk 15 minutes maybe, talking John with the sales managers. They're trying to squeeze this buffalo off the nickel for this customer. And what was the customer doing back at the table? Just waiting patiently? No. You know what they were doing? They had their smartphone out. And I watched them on their smartphone, and before the salesperson got back to them, they had stood up, put on their coat, and started to walk to the door. Salesperson caught him, and they said, well, you know what? We're going to be right back. There's another vehicle up the street we want to look at. Actually, they said car, not vehicle. Did that customer come back? No. The deal was lost because we left the customer by themselves. We left them alone with their smartphone. And the final reason why salespeople love this process, again, it's shorter than 3 hours. Now, Steve, I thought this was about reducing turnover. How does process reduce turnover? Listen, if it was easy, intuitive, repeatable, and enforced and loved by all, you'd sell more cars for more money, right? Your employees would have structure and guidance. Your marginal salespeople would improve, right? Instead of flushing out after 2 months. But all of this requires accountability, okay? And that's the problem. See, this is the biggest elephant in the room is accountability in the car business. We got to learn to live the A word. We've got to learn to live accountability. So, are we ready for accountability? Let's agree on a few things, okay? Let's agree that the rules that we wrote in step 1, right? Good businesses like good rules. Those rules provide necessary guidance and structure. Let's agree to that. And let's agree that the pay plans that we wrote in step 3, that those are fair, okay? And in part 4, let's agree that the processes that we put in place, those are good and they're going to help us be more successful, okay? So let's agree on those things, okay? If we can agree on those things, then accountability is all that's important. See, we either reinforce those with our actions, reinforce the rules, the pay plans, the processes. We either live it, or we need to embrace turnover. We need to embrace reduced market share. We need to embrace greater discounting. And we need to embrace expensive training and retraining. We need to all become AutoNation stores. Is that what we want? Listen, accountability in automotive, if you're a sales manager and you don't hold everyone accountable, it's not 100% your fault, because no one held you accountable to processes when you were selling, did they? And no one is truly holding you accountable today, even as a sales manager, are they? They're not holding you accountable except to the numbers and maybe the law, and that's it. They're probably not holding you accountable to rules like 100% TO, or holding you accountable to making sure that every up's in the CRM. The GM will come in and yell about that. The owner will come in and yell about that, but nobody's holding you accountable to those things. They put those rules in place, but nobody's living them. Nobody's reinforcing them. So what is accountability? It's important to know and understand that accountability is the essence of leadership, okay? Accountability is not about punishment. It really isn't. It's an obligation to accept responsibility. That's what accountability is. And accountability is that two-way obligation. The salesperson, they accept the obligation, they accept the responsibility. They have an obligation to accept the responsibility of doing all the steps that we've told them are important. But as their manager, I have an obligation to accept the responsibility to make sure it gets done. So what is the obligation of accountability? As the manager, you have the obligation to hold everyone accountable to the rules, the pay plans, and the processes that we put in place and that we said were important and are going to help us sell more cars for more money. See, without accountability, the rules do not exist. That's what I said when we started talking about the rules. You know, you might claim to me, Steve, we've already got a great anti-skating rule. I'm going to tell you it doesn't exist because people are still skating and we're still rewarding the skaters. See, we've already agreed that the rules, the pay plans, the processes, they're going to make it easier for us. They really will, and they'll reduce turnover. So now your job as a manager is to enforce them. It's what you're paid to do. And good people want accountability. They really do. Your best people do. Good people like order. Great people love structure. You know who doesn't like accountability? Your slackers. Slackers hate having someone telling them what to do. Start enforcing your rules and your processes. Some of you are saying, but Steve, my top guys are going to quit. Why? If they are truly your top guys and their interests are aligned with the store's interests, then they will embrace the rules and they'll embrace the processes because that'll make work simpler, right? Or are their interests not aligned with yours? And that's really the case. If they're going to quit, it's because their interests are not aligned with the stores and you don't need them. Or they like to burn through your ups and they don't want to follow a process. Let's do some freelancer math. This actually is a true situation in an actual dealership I worked with a couple of years ago. Let's do the math. They had an internet salesperson who was selling 30 units a month. 30 units every month, and I was in the dealership for 3 days, and that internet salesperson made 0 phone calls over the 3 days. All he did was just vomit the lowest price on every lead via email. So he got 450 leads in the month and got about that same every month, and he sold, like I say, 30 cars every month, but every lead that came in, he just put the lowest price on the email, shot it out to the prospect, and in the email it said, must print this email and ask for, and it had his name on there. Wasn't following any of the store's processes because the store let him freelance. In fact, when I came in to train the store, they said, you know what, leave so-and-so alone because he's got it. He doesn't need your training. I said, no problem, that's fine. Again, watched him for 3 days, he made 0 phone calls. Let me tell you how much this guy's costing you. This is the freelancer math. The second set of numbers there, if we gave those 450 leads to 2 average BDC agents, they would get a 25% show to lead ratio, so 450 times 25%. Your floor would close on average 50% of the internet appointments that show. That means 56 units would be sold to those 450 leads if we just gave these leads to 2 average BDC agents. But if we had a great BDC that had a 35% show to lead ratio and we were doing the perfect appointment on the floor, what you can learn at stevestauning.com, the perfect appointment, and you can learn it for free, we would close at 80%. That's 126 units sold to those 450 leads. This is real. This is real data. This is real math. Your top sales guy, let him quit. He's costing you at least 26 units a month, isn't he? He might be costing you almost 100 units a month. Good people like rules and great people love structure, but freelancers only want to cherry pick the opportunities that you are paying for. Wait, Steve, aren't we trying to reduce turnover? Why would we want him to quit? Listen, we are trying to reduce turnover, yes, but this prima donna who's cherry picking 450 leads is leading to more turnover because everybody sees the special treatment he gets, everybody. And new salespeople can't survive on the scraps because he's getting 450 leads a month and he's burning through them just like somebody burning through your ups. See, enforcing your rules might mean firing those who refuse to comply. This may include your favorite manager. And if you can't do it, hire a new GM to do it for you. And then you only have to hold one person accountable. Or you can become what we call the show me leader. You want processes completed or rules followed? Start asking questions. But then follow up with show me. I want you to become the show me leader. So here's how the show me leader works. Let's say that your sales tower is supposed to confirm all appointments. Well, you walk to your sales tower and you say, hey guys, did we confirm all the appointments? And what do they say every time? Yep, we sure did, boss. Great, show me. That's it. That's all you have to do. And they might look at you weird the first time and you're going to say, no, show me. Why don't you give me the appointment folder. Show me which one we've confirmed. Show me who we talked to, what they said. Show me in the CRM where we marked them all confirmed. Show me the times that we did those confirmations. Tell me who made those confirmations. That's a show me leader, right? Your sales managers can do it for your salespeople. All they can do is walk up to the salespeople and say, hey, did you make all your calls today? Salesperson always says, oh yeah, boss, we got all the calls made. Great, show me. That's the show me leader. It's very simple. It's 2 words. It's the most powerful 2 words you can use as a manager. And then start to manage the activities. If you want another way to reduce turnover, keep your team busy. Your processes should generate success-focused activities, right? Not busy work. If you manage those activities, the results will come. In other words, you're going to keep them engaged. Disengaged employees, the guy sitting outside waiting on the up bus, smoking a cigarette, waiting with 2 other people. Disengaged employees are always thinking about survival. Disengaged employees are here for the money. And disengaged employees will leave you as soon as any opportunity presents itself, even if it's not a better opportunity. Highly engaged employees, people who are involved all the time, people who are busy the whole day, people who look up at the clock and go, it's time to go home, my gosh, it feels like I just got here. Highly engaged employees feel a greater sense of team. Highly engaged employees think of this, they think, what can I do for other people? Highly engaged employees feel what they do is important. Highly engaged people believe that they are superstars, and highly engaged people love working here. Keep your team busy. Now, the secret. Did you know there was a secret to holding people accountable? Did you know that there's actually a secret? I'm going to give you the secret to hold people accountable. I'll give you a second to write this down. You must hold them accountable. That's it. That's the secret. The secret is do it. It really isn't that hard. It really isn't. The secret to holding people accountable is you must hold them accountable. This is a rule. You violated the rule. We said this was what's going to happen if you violate the rule. We're going to do that, okay? The secret is do it, but do it fairly, without bias. And you know what? I want you to be nice. I want you to be nice. Anybody remember Dalton from Roadhouse, 1989, right? All you have to do is follow 3 simple rules. 1, never underestimate your salespeople. Expect the unexpected. 2, take it away from the tower. Never start anything inside the tower unless it's absolutely necessary. And 3, be nice. If somebody gets in your face and calls you a bad closer, I want you to be nice. Ask him to make his calls, but be nice. If he won't make his calls, make him, but be nice. If you can't make him make his calls, one of the other sales managers will help you and you'll both be nice. See, I want you to remember it's just a job. It's nothing personal. I want you to be nice until it's time not to be nice. That was my version of Dalton. Thank you all very much. Listen, crap rolls downhill. The problem is it rolls downhill all the way to our customer. Most deskers, by their very nature of the job, they just cannot be nice. It's not their fault. They're busy desking deals. They can't be nice. You need leaders if you want engaged employees who stay and produce at your dealership. It's a fact of life and business. To almost everyone you encounter, it's more important to be nice than it is to be right. Well, let me tell you something. As a left brain thinker, it was really hard for me to wrap my head around that early in my career as a manager. But I'll say it again. It is more important to be nice than it is to be right. Now, there's no reason you can't do both. But if you got to pick one, people would prefer nice. It doesn't cost you anything to be nice to your team. By the way, if you want to serve, if you want to be nice to your team, you have to really want to serve. You want to make them better. Now, nice does not mean being a doormat. I want to be very clear on that. It means more simply, don't be an a-hole. It means treat everyone fairly. It means treat everyone as they want to be treated. It means enforcing the rules. That's what being nice is enforcing the rules. But enforce the rules and processes like Dalton from Roadhouse. Ask them to do it, but be nice. Make them do it, but be nice. Be nice until it's time not to be nice, and then be nice when you're letting them go. See, if they're not a fit, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means they can't work here. Somebody named Carl Buhner once said, they may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Now, some people misquote that and give it to somebody else, but Carl Buhner said it first. They may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. If you want to be a jerk, go for it. There are over 16,000 other dealerships out there, and great people have options. We already agreed to that at the beginning, so let's recap this, okay? First, we're going to write some simple fair business rules, and then we're going to write some enduring fair pay plans, and then we're going to write some repeatable sales processes. Then we're going to test our sales processes for sanity and pleasure, right? Do people love them? Do the steps make sense? And then we're going to enforce all of those rules and those processes and those pay plans fairly, and we're going to be nice. And if you will do that, I guarantee you will solve your turnover. You might be saying, Steve, we tried these things and it didn't work. I'm going to tell you didn't try them, that you didn't really do them, that you put them in place for a week, or that your team gave you lip service and they checked boxes. Or you're going to say, Steve, but we don't have time, but we can't. Remember what I said? Anybody can find a can't. Leaders find a way. If we can solve turnover in your dealership, everything else is a cakewalk. So yes, you do have time for this. So let's wrap this up. If you've got any questions, you can contact me via stevestauning.com/contact_Steve, or just go to stevestauning.com, find that link. You can also contact me via undeniableadvantage.com under the contact. Please follow me on Twitter @Steve Stauning and follow us @UD Advantage. That way you'll never miss a webcast.